My name is Saskia. I've got over a decade of experience in running a small business in the needlecraft industry. I'm obsessed with the healing magic of crafting and the power of community. Dreaming big about a world where we rely on value-based businesses, the kindness economy, and where we can fully say, fuck fast fashion. A Smaller Life aims to inspire you to look at your wardrobe differently. Where do you buy? How do you use your clothes? And can you make some of it yourself? We learn from experts in the needlecraft, textile, and creative industry, big names and small, about what it's actually like to run a small business. I'm educated in marketing and photography and learned to do everything else on the job. Selling, pattern and product design, teaching, and running a needlecraft school. As a small business owner, you're in charge of everything. Branding, marketing, selling, promoting, and cleaning the loo. Emotional talks with sellers about wins and woes, product and design, conscious decision making, why we do it, how we do it, and what we need to become the future of fashion without burning the hell out. And I'm determined to lift our scene up for the world to notice so they can step away from fast fashion. Hi, Alice. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hot and I'm super excited to have this conversation. You are Alice Karolina and that's your last name.
Yes.
Yes. Cool. Let's get that. The most important thing. Do you want to start with telling us who you are and what you do and a little bit about the journey that you took to end up where you are?
Yes, of course. I grew up in Switzerland. I started in the design industry, just like you, went to art school. And so that led me to one of my businesses, which is branding. I'm a brand strategist on one side. And then during my training and several other communication training and marketing trainings afterwards, including, commercial interior design, any kind of merchandising, stuff like that, I realized how deeply I despise manipulation in all its forms, even though I was really good at it, and maybe that's why. And so I left that industry behind, came online with my business, and realized that it's even worse online. And that's when the first seeds came in for the movement that I've built, which is the ethical move, the movement for ethical marketing. Because I realized nobody was saying anything against all the atrocities, all the shaming and the manipulation and the tactics. So those are my two sort of like semi-overlapping businesses. And they sort of complement and mirror each other because with my branding work, I do a lot more deep work, a little more on the side of actually finding your voice and being true to your values and working from within. And in the same vein as the ethical move, trying to create a sphere where people don't have to rely on external sources to learn how they do things. They actually have a lot more already in the bank than they think. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on both sides.
Oh, I love that. I love that last part. You already have a lot. Sometimes you want to trust the big voices. Well, it's might be enough to just trust yourself. I love that.
Yeah. We do get trained differently. And I'm sure we'll get into it through the conversation we're having, but we get trained to listen out, especially as women, more than in, because, that's the way of the world. There's a leader and we follow them. There's a lot more that we have that might actually be better because our ideas might be better than what's going on right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people find that out when something disruptive happens in their lives, maybe health problems or something, and they're forced to really go within and take time to reflect and to see, can I even do things differently? Is that okay? And how can I do that? And it's such a journey. Yeah, it's definitely something I personally also have been working with. So it's good to hear you say that. Can you tell me a little bit about how the ethical move as a movement works? What do you offer?
Right. So the ethical move is a business is not a not-for-profit. That's something that I want to highlight. We have a business model of an online community, which is a paid membership. The movement itself is broader than that. We started with a pledge to market ethically, which means with honesty, transparency, taking responsibility. And we shifted and changed our pledge over the years, and we've come to one that really suits us, that works more from within than us telling people how to do things. So that is where we landed. We originally wanted to create a standard, a certification of some kind, like fair trade or organic, something like that, and realized in the process of researching that we would be perpetuating kind of a patriarchal colonial system with that. And in so doing, actually going against what we believe in, which is the liberation and thriving of all people, and not some sort of weird, white saviorism, let me tell you how to do things. So anyways, that's where we really turned the course and realized how much of it is community-based and should be collective. So that's where we found out, well, the only real way we can do this is to collectively find a new way to market.
Yeah.
And so that's when we decided to start a community, an online community. And we just launched a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Anyways,
yes.
And it's
Congratulations.
been really great. Yes, it's gonna be so fun to finally take all our conversations that we had in our team Slack into the community, because the one thing that I've noticed about the ethical marketing journey is having people in the boat with you that you can converse with and kind of go, I feel weird about this, or this is a really, like I have had an experience that I can't describe. Like, I don't know why it makes me feel weird, but or I really want to sell this, but how do I do it? And what's a good way to, navigate it? And that is really where the community is strongest. Like, the community is really meant to hold that space to work on our ethical marketing pursuits, because they will last a lifetime. This is a great unlearning and a great recreating of what we want things to be. Like, if we don't use lead magnets, what do we do? If we don't use the typical selling strategies, what are strategies that work more, let's say, cyclically, or in a natural sort of connection? What about relationship? I just think that branding goes a lot deeper than we think. After years and years and years of doing this work, I still am trying to find a better word for it, because what branding typically is, in the schematic that people have in their head, is this very shiny, flashy, either it's logos and colors, that's one side of it, which, a lot of people are learning that that's not actually just, that's not all of it. Very pretty part of it, though.
Fun,
and a really fun part. But branding goes so much deeper, and I would argue to have a really, really solid brand means to have a really solid business identity. And I think that's where I like to play, is in the down deep, below the surface, where you're building your values and you're building, your purpose, your vision, the place that you're actually going to, which then connects you to your people, because they better have the same vision as you,
right?
Exactly. That connection, right? And then you can message to them with the exact purpose of helping them solve their problems, being a partner in their solution. So to me, branding has been kind of bastardized, to be honest, and taken into a very sort of short-term, quick and dirty, do a website over the weekend kind of thing, when I just really want to stretch it out and look at it as a practice. Same with ethical marketing. It's a practice. We do it every day. We're not going to be done ever.
We're not going to be done.
Going to keep evolving,
No, it's like your own identity, which is a complete journey from the day you're born to the day you die. Who am I? What does it mean to be me? And finding ways to come closer to the core of you, who you are. You do the same with your business. And they might have a big overlap. And I think if we talk about value-based businesses, they should have a big overlap. But it is it's a practice. Yeah. Cool. And so the pledge. Can we go into the pledge? What are the specific things that you talk about not to do or do differently? Do I say that right?
Hello
Hello, friends. I just want to say something to you quickly. So if you're liking the podcast, if you're liking what I'm talking about, consider joining the mailing list. I have bi-weekly updates on the podcast and or business insights and tips. The occasional exercise to get you ahead. If you want to actually talk to other business owners about the things that I talk about here on the podcast, why not become a Yavol community member for as little as €8.50 a month? That's like buying me coffee and a croissant. But don't do it for me though. Do it for yourself, because I promise that you will get something out of it, either the emails and or the community. So you can either go to the show notes or sign up through yavol.myflowdesk.com/pattern shift. I hope you'll join us.
Sure. Yes. You can find your own words for it. That's kind of the whole point of it all is, everyone find their own way of doing it. So we have 3 distinct points. I'm just going to tell you the pledge, like the actual wording, and then what we mean by it. First point is we put the person before the sale. This can also include the planet. We respect you and your privacy. We will help you make the best choice for your needs, not ours. So that basically means you come before my need for a sale. That doesn't mean we can't have our own needs met. That doesn't mean that we can't sell the thing that we're selling. We just adhere to the principle of the human in front of us, or, the way that we're selling things is not going to harm, is actually going to be in benefit of the person in front of us. That should hopefully eliminate any and all shaming tactics or any and all ways in which we get told we don't know things when we do, or all of the ways in which we insidiously get undermined. Also the real aspect of privacy, right? That's another part of it. So much of it is, it's a real concern, of course, and so much of it is already sort of out of our hands tech wise. But really respecting it and being part of that for our clients or customers or consumers, I think is really crucial. So that is the first part of the pledge. So that could mean having a really solid privacy policy, really looking at those agreements with the various software that you use, and understanding a sales conversation or a sales funnel as something where we're supporting the person and giving them the option of conscious choice, right?
Yes. I love that. I love that. And I'm going to come back to that later. Yes.
Perfect. Yes. this is like the work of years and years and years. So there's lots to unpack.
I believe it.
And we keep adding to the conversation. So the second point of the pledge is we communicate inclusively, truthfully, and clearly. We will not confuse you or hide information from you. We will help all audiences feel welcome. So the inclusive part is hopefully obvious. We mean accessible. We mean for everyone to be able to be part of whatever game we're playing and have the ability to access it. And we also want to make sure that this really includes liberation on all fronts, like actually making it diverse as much as possible. However you see the connection between your business and liberation work, this is what we're asking for.
Yeah.
Because most of our content and most of our products are not actually as inclusive as we'd like them to be. And we're still learning, right? Every day we're learning new things, and it goes far beyond, let's say, header tags and how visuals are made, or alt text. And I had to learn that the hard way myself, because we often have a really narrow understanding of what ableism, for example, is, or things like that. So still a huge learning point for all of us, but yes, myself included. And then the other part, maybe the first part of the sentence, we will not confuse or hide information from you, goes into things like sharing your pricing, for example, if that makes sense, unless you have a different kind of business structure where you create proposals, of course, maybe you can give a budget range or something like that. And there's we've been trained to really try and get as much out of someone as we can, and the other person is trying to lose as little as possible. So understanding that both sides are coming into it with a lot of fear attached already. And, you might not tell a marketing person your budget because you don't want to abuse that, If you stand in a place of like truthfully, clearly, transparently, honestly, being in what is so in your business, this is my price, this is where I stand, what's your choice, then we have a chance of sort of mitigating that fear level that people experience in general. And as always, whatever we experience transports out to other areas. So if we experience a really positive interaction as a client where we feel held and really like understood, and we're given all the information and the ability to consent or not, then we might go and see, oh, how are these people doing it? Or what about that company? That was the opposite of that experience, So we might, as clients, as customers, seek out other experiences as well. So we're doing a part of sort of educating in a way as well, just by walking the talk, so to speak. And this goes down into the nitty gritty of things like charm pricing or ways in which, little trickeries happen, dark patterns, things like that, which are meant to sort of bypass our conscious decision-making process. If we make $47 instead of 50 or euros. Those are little things where we say, let's actually make it really clear and transparent what the price is so that the person can meet us at the same place, which is a really good relationship builder.
And then also be transparent about being transparent. That's, I feel from my perspective as the business owner that wants to be more ethical in my communication and in my selling, it's a little bit scary. You want to do things right from the get-go. And I found out about the ethical move and I'm like, oh, this is me. I need to do this. I need to get this done. And then step by step, going through the time and through my work, I realized that I have a lot of changing to do still, and a lot of learning to do. But even now talking to you and just knowing that it's a process and that you cannot do it right away. But what you can do is be transparent and communicative about the fact that you are learning and that you want to do it this way, but you are on the road to recovery.
Well, it is an addiction. I mean, that's the thing.
Yes.
Like, it is meant to burrow in where, our lizard brain sits. Like, that's what it's meant to do. And I think something that people, or especially small businesses, need to understand is that marketing itself is like every other sales technique on steroids. Selling marketing or marketing tactics or marketing formulas have like the most insidious sales tactics of all. So we're not only learning that, how to do marketing in a really, inhumane way, which we don't recognize as inhumane because they have put the fear in us that we will not have enough, we will not be successful unless we do X, unless we buy this program. So if we think of like the whole of sales and marketing and sales itself, it's kind of a meta weirdness about it, is like the most potent in their fear mongering. And there are so many ways in which those marketing programs recreate that primal fear of not having enough, not making it, dying. Like, that is essentially where they're going. Like, the deeper they can burrow, the better. So really understanding that it's not just an unlearning in general, and we're like, oh, I didn't know this thing and now I need to learn a new thing. That's one side of it. But really understanding that we've been slipped the drug into our tea this whole time. It's not our fault that we have that fear and that we connected to needing more marketing tactics or needing more, sales pressure tactics. That is what was given to us when we started our businesses or when we started being a human going to the grocery store.
Or just listening to or seeing your parents be consumers and how they consume, and the people around you. It's all around us. It's a big and huge monster that wait, I'm it's a big and huge monster that accompanies us wherever we go. So it is a process of being so aware all of the time. And then as a consumer, and then as a business owner, if you want to be part of the change, you have to put in some more energy, some more effort. And when you can do that in community, that is awesome. We'll get back to the community later as well. But I also wanted to talk to you about, because now we are a little bit talking about small businesses, but do you typically communicate to with the ethical move?
Primarily, we're focusing on small online businesses. And part of that group is also marketers and branders and people who are actually teaching this stuff. Those are our primary customers, or how should I say this, our primary audience. I'm trying to move away from like militant language, like target audience, or, like those kinds of things.
So hard.
It's so hard. It's everywhere. It's very war influenced, the whole marketing language. Yeah. So our primary audience are small online businesses, with the hopes of all of us there being so many of us, that we sort of like create a critical mass at some point, where we become the way things are done differently, because we have such an easy way of changing things. We're eternally evolving. We're always able to change things within minutes, a couple of clicks away. So that is a really good place to start for us, also because all of us on our team are small business owners. So we are very, very aware of the language and the just the context that we're in. And then we're also broadening out. I mean, this is the next step, is doing work within marketing programs or within universities, hoping to actually talk to the new students that are coming online. And then also consumers, hopefully, and to some extent. I mean, we've had a few people reach out to us who are happy to see that there is something being done, because they feel, obviously, like all of us. I mean, we're all consumers as well. So it's a bit of an overlapping diagram there. And then hopefully eventually, like the big dogs, like going after bigger, like actually pitching a different way of doing things to maybe mid-sized businesses, maybe businesses who have a few employees, offline, who might have a warehouse, things like that. But that is connected to a bigger supply chain, right? Online businesses are very limber. Is that the word?
Yeah, I'm very interested in that, in those different kinds of businesses and how they can or cannot change the world. Like you're saying, small businesses are very agile. What?
Yes.
Now I'm
that's the perfect word. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh, really? So agile and bigger businesses have a lot of power to, once they make a change, make a big change. So they're both important. And we talked about this on the podcast before, where as value-focused consumers and businesses, we sometimes do not necessarily like the big brands. And we talked about a brand like Pukka Tea, who was a small business and then was bought from Unilever or something big. We talked about how that was selling out or wrong. And I would argue that no, when they start doing things better, even if it's not perfect, because a big company is in Dutch we say log monster. It's like it doesn't really move. It takes a lot of time. But once something small changes in a bigger unit, that's good as well, right? We do not want to step away from that possibility. But in this instant, and in this case, we're talking about small businesses, and on a smaller life, specifically about small creative businesses. The business owners that listen to this show typically don't have an education in owning a business, in marketing, in branding. They started from their passion. They kind of accumulate information from the internet, from a book, from a colleague, but in real life, they're just watching what everybody else is doing.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to use an example, and I know people are different and businesses are different. I'm just a little side note. Most of them just use social media. They have a product, they put the product on their website, they might have a little shop. They put the products on their social media, and if they have time, they send a newsletter. They might send a newsletter every quarter, but it could be 3 in a month, and then half a year, no newsletter at all. So these kinds of businesses are, on one hand, the best ones to make a change because they don't have that integrated base that's already there and they don't have to unlearn anything. On the other hand, when they do search for information, they find those online marketeers that I also listen to and learn from, and am now looking at a little bit more critically. And I can still use a lot of that information, but I just put on a different pair of glasses and look at it differently. But my point being, I'm getting somewhere, is that on one hand, they are the best people to start doing this. And on the other hand, it's kind of hard to do things differently when you don't have time and you don't have money to invest. While we're on the topic of what you need to do to lift your business, I want to invite you to go over to www.ja-wol.com/pages/businesses. Don't forget the W's, they're important. If you're interested in doing this kind of work within, let's say, 12 weeks, the next BBBC cohort is happening soon, and you can sign up to get updates or get some more information. And as I'm always saying, you are welcome to email me with questions. I'd even be happy to answer any of your questions on a short call as well. So I'm wondering, how do you reach those small businesses? So it's like circle on circle. How do you find those small businesses, and how do you use your tools of communication?
Really interesting question. The primary way that we reach them, and this was always the point of the badge that we created for people who pledge, is that people see us on other people's websites or in other people's communication. So it's really a word of mouth almost. But what we really pride ourselves in is our team, and who we are is really based on self-care and well-being within the work that we're doing. So we always critically look at everything that we're putting out in connection to how much can we carry as volunteers, because we're all volunteers. We all have our own businesses and families and lives and, other things going on. We really have to be mindful of how can we reach people, but also how can we reach them in a sustainable way that keeps our well-being intact, which we've not always done successfully. But there's a few things that really are key for us. One of them is the badge. The other one is podcasts like these, like where we actually get to borrow other people's audiences for a minute. And then there is social media. Only like we tried Twitter for a minute, that because it seemed like a really good place to start. We all got anxiety. We stopped because, I can't personally do Twitter. It just is a mess for my brain. So I have ADHD and complex PTSD. That place is like a nightmare for my brain. That fell away, and we focused on having Medium be one of the places that we can actually have the conversation where people can contribute to the conversation without us actually having to be the curators of everything. Like, we are definitely there to support people who are writing, and we'll help edit it and we'll whip it into shape, whatever it needs to be, or we'll take it as is. I mean, some of these articles that come in are just like beautiful pieces that we're almost too scared to touch because they're so perfect. All of that helps sort of like broaden the spectrum, because those people then again will share their articles and have, that kind of organic reach. The thing that we're currently deciding, or that we've decided is something that hasn't been put in motion yet, specifically, is that we have an Instagram account, which, and a Facebook connection. And then we, have a little bit of LinkedIn going on there too. But just specifically Meta, how they navigate things is not great, to say the least. We've had quite a lot of conversation about it because Instagram is a really great place for us to hang out. We have a really good interaction there, and that's where a lot of people find us. And yet, when we look at actual pledges or people who come into the community, this is the big point. Almost no one comes to us from social media. It's usually like, oh, somebody told me about you, or I heard a podcast, I saw the badge and I got curious, and like things like that. We've run through maybe like 4 or 5 people already trying to do Instagram. like burning out time after time, and all of us kind of like having to pick up the slack again. The conversation is fun, but the actual creation of content, I'm one of those people that like crafts content. It takes me like 5 hours to do something because it all has to be perfect. Unfortunately, I'm in that bucket too. But I also care about my craft. I want it to mean something. I don't want it to just, be out in the ether and be wobbly. Like that to me is untrue to me. It just takes a lot of energy. So eventually, over the course of 3 years, we had to realize this is really not on several levels. Like Meta on its own is one thing. We do want to be where people are. Definitely, we want to keep having the conversation, but we'd rather do it in a way that supports us as a team and supports the pledge instead of supporting Meta. Like, I don't know. It just feels strange,
I have to be it's so hard not to say anything while you're saying this, because like my heart is bursting out of my body. The thing is, it's like I'm hearing myself speak with a better English accent, because everything that you're saying, like completely, that's why I left. I can tell you can leave. Nothing will change.
We're there. We're just developing a new strategy, right? But right. Like we still want to have the conversation and be available.
So I left 6 months ago, and it was a time I ramped up to it, and I'm kind of working on like a piece of text to explain how I did it and how I asked people that were invested in the kind of movement that I'm doing, how they could stay with us. For me, that meant either subscribing to the newsletter or joining my community, or actually starting to write actual letters with people, like actual ones. I have one person that I write to. There were 9, but it ended up being 1. But I love that. So these are some of the things that I did. But like you, I figured out that with all the followers I had, thousands of followers, they said it was inspiring what I did and what I said. And I thought that was so important. And that's why I stayed. But then I got back to, wait, I'm a business. And this takes time. It is giving me anxiety. It is super frustrating. I'm not a team. I'm just one person and an editor. Thank you, Ali. And I just needed to choose. I have to choose every single day, a lot of the time, to keep myself healthy and keep my business healthy. Yes. And leaving social media, except for LinkedIn, because I felt like in business, you kind of still need to have some feathers attached in a way, but I do not regret it at all. So just wanted to put that out there, and you can give me a call when we're done with this interview if you want to know more.
No, that's the beauty of it, right? I mean, all of us are marketers, all of us on the team, right? Yeah. We've all been in marketing for years and years. So, you look at the numbers, you look at your audience, you look at what's actually needed. Until now, Instagram was kind of a place where we had the conversation because we didn't really have any other place. We have what I would call a brilliant newsletter every month.
Yes, definitely.
That's really fun. We have email interactions with people. That's really great, which I really enjoy because that's very personal and beautiful. And the beauty of our pledge, like when people pledge, it drops it into on our Slack. Our incredible tech person, Maria, made it work so that we have a channel where the pledges drop in, how they found us and what it means to them and why
that is so important.
And that is like, it's like balm. Like sometimes when I have a bad day, I just kind of scroll through that channel just to see, like reconnect with what we're doing. Now that we have a community where people can actually engage with us while also helping to actually support us in our work, because that's the other part, right? We were all volunteering. At least now we're paying for our expenses.
I wanted to say the team that you have, how many people help you with the message?
There's 8 of us right now. We fluctuate between 6 and 10, I feel like, at all times.
Yeah.
We have, we're actually in the process of restructuring it to make it even more wellness-based. I mean, that kind of sounds weird, but to really focus on our health. Because there is a tendency to sort of like get fresh volunteers and then they burn out, and then fresh volunteers and then they burn out. And that is not feasible. That's not okay. That's not even okay as humans, even though we're all very passionate. That's probably why.
That's the thing. Yeah.
We can't not, right? So what we're investing in doing is actually bumping up the members probably. I mean, this is also in the gray matter, and kind of going into creating little mini teams within the team. So having each team have, like, each topic having sort of a few people together, so that if one person has a family issue or something like that, then another person can jump in and you always have a collaboration partner. That's kind of where we're going, to really support that, like, joyful liberation work that we really believe in. And we all have very good intact boundaries. So we have a self-care channel in our Slack that says, hey, I need to take a week off, or like next month I'm going to be here, like more or less, stop tagging me. So that's probably our most active channel aside from the Pledge channel, where we really sort of reinforce that wellness component or that self-care component. I feel like we're also learning about what it means to actually have an organization like this and how it works with, volunteers who are passionate, who have, like, everybody has a skill set that is really diverse in a way as well. So, there's no real job roles. We all do the thing that we love doing the most. And then I'm just trying to, like, kind of wrangle everything, from my little cabin. So it's, it's a constant evolution. So I don't even want to, I don't know if that came out as a jumbled mess, but it is definitely.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm gonna make it even, hopefully, a little bit more rounded as a thing, because I'm also curious about, so we ended up choosing the same platform for our communities, and we are both on Mighty Networks. It's a great place where you can build your community the way you want to, and you have a lot of freedom with pricing and everything. I'm not sure if they have changed it already. I sent them messages before, but they do have a little bit with the round prices. They didn't have them. So even though we take a pledge, the prices of our community might still not be completely round, because the software is made that way. But we're sending messages, and hopefully they'll change that, just to give you a little bit of extra information there.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. For me, at the moment, I'm not making any money yet. I've been very clear about that. My business and my brand is 14 years old, but I've pivoted so many times that now I'm in my 6th business with the same brand name. So this particular last pivot that I did was closing my yarn shop and a needlecraft school. And I've changed into an online community, and I'm guiding small business owners to actually get more healthy and a sustainable business for themselves and just in general. So that's in short what we do. So that means that I needed to have a different look at pricing, because I'm not selling products anymore where I get the product from a wholesaler or dye yarn myself and then do some sort of a calculation that makes sense, because we are all used to doing it that way. But now I have to sell my knowledge, my hours, my work, my experience, the fact that I pay for this platform and all of the extra costs. So I took a course in fair pricing because I wanted to do well. And I still end up like not asking enough, because that is the other side of it, right? You are so invested in your audience that you want them to not have to pay too much. And then you think of solutions for people that are really invested and want to be in it, but don't have the money. So you think of solutions to do that. In our case, I have a little bit of a tip jar where people can put in money. And when there's enough money in there, we can offer a free pass or whatever you want to call it. But I'm always struggling with it. So on the low end, I'm not asking enough in general. It's really hard to ask for the right price and to be inclusive and open. How did you navigate that, and how did you build your pricing in your community?
over a few years. We landed on a solidarity pricing model, and I really have to focus on Sabine and Jeffrey's work here in developing this. We originally had thought about this. We have lots of people who are always helping us out. So there were people along the way, Caroline Leon first, who we talked to about pricing, and then Lisa Greer, who talked to us about a tiered model where we first came up with like different ways of paying it forward for people. Mm-hmm. And then really Sabine coming through with what she learned about solidarity pricing. What we came to was a tiered model where we have an accessible price, we have a regular price, and then we have a pay it forward price. What we want to be very clear in communicating is that the regular price is the cost of the community.
Right. I saw that.
That is the real cost, right? So if you want to pay for what it's worth, like as the value itself, that is the cost. If you want to support us and help other people and other people who can't pay that, then you can pay it forward. And there have been people who have done that.
That's amazing.
And then there's people where it would hurt to pay the regular price, but still want to be part of the conversation. And for them, it's half the regular price. So it's basically like we have $15, $30, and $60. Those are the tiers that we have. Yeah. Also with the option of obviously being able to upgrade anytime and also downgrade if they feel like I actually am hurting this month and I can't do it anymore, being able to flexibly change to a different plan. That needs to be an option because life happens.
Life does happen, yeah.
Right. And, just because I can't pay the $30 right now doesn't mean that maybe not, in a half a year, my business may have, bloomed and I am now able to pay for the regular price. So for us, really, it's a constant conversation. This is what it is to be part of the ethical move. It is a conversation. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep reviewing. And it's been working well in the sense that we have the sort of levels that we're hoping to achieve, and we're able to pay for our expenses, which is the main piece for us, that we're not paying out of pocket for the movement. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll evolve. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Maybe there will be, we are thinking about having a way for people to donate, but that would also require us obviously to be very transparent about the different places things go price-wise. And every step for us, every step for anyone involves work around it, right? Yes, you can have a donation page and maybe the work of the page itself is one thing, but then also how can we make it transparent? What's a good system? What are ways in which people are able to look behind the scenes of our organization, but also not inflict a ton of administrative work for us, there's always a balance. And I think what's the beautiful thing about the ethical move and not needing it to pay for us and our livelihoods is that we can go as slow as we need to. We have pushed things so many times. We were going to launch the community like a year ago. we just push things and we're saying, hey, we're going slow but steady. We're doing it right. And we're going to push pause whenever we feel like, hey, we don't have all the answers yet. Something feels off. We pause it, we take a beat, we look at everything again. And at the same time, we have the ability, like, for example, the social media part where we're saying, hey, we've been watching this for 2 years now, and it's now time, and we're going to make the decision and done, So there's a beauty in that, right? Which I really enjoy about business. If you can do it this way, where you can take your time, but also make really efficient decisions in the moment because you have been listening and looking and paying attention,
Yeah. And taking time to make your decisions is so important, and trying things out. I have worked with volunteers before in my shop. I worked out if that was fair to do, if it was okay, if it was legal. I paid them with a big discount for my products, the yarn and everything I sold. It kind of always felt off a little bit. But I always thought I should be able to pay myself first and then have other people work for me, because it's so hard in such a niche, and in our niche to earn a living. I thought I have such a good community with people that are enthusiastic and would love to help out, even not getting any discount. So I tried that out. And what happened was, I attract people that are really enthusiastic and do a lot of things on the side. And so there would be a lot of movement, a
Turnover.
lot of people, a lot of turnover. But I did always get like enthusiastic people. It didn't work in the end. And I pledged to myself that this time I was going to do it differently and earn the money to be able to invest in a team. And it goes really slowly. It's like trying things. I invited my community from the shop into my online community for free during the lockdowns. That was great. But once I started charging the real price, they all left. That was really hard. And then I changed the kind of program that I was running or was going to run, and I made it a little, what is the word? Easier going. Like the topic of what we're talking about is how to change the way you make your wardrobe and accumulate your wardrobe in a way that's conscious and fits your values. And it was kind of more going into the direction of a course first, and now it's more of just a communal topic that we talk about. So I lowered the prices again. Now I'm at that point where I'm thinking the idea that people pay attention to what they pay for is something that rings true on one hand. And on the other hand, I've learned that you kind of have to figure out what people are willing to pay and what the value is to them. Yeah. And that is such a hard balance to figure out, because now I'm kind of I'm taking action. That's why I have this podcast. And that's why I hope that your community will listen to this podcast and think, I'm a knitter. I want to be in there. I'm a knitting professional or whatever. Just to grow my business so I can make the decision to stay a business or to change into a nonprofit and just really work at my life's purpose. And that is to change people's idea of fashion and how they get their clothing. Yeah. That is hard. And that is a long road. And sometimes why I'm saying this is not because I want you to give me compliments or anything. What I want to circle back to what we talked about before. Getting feedback is super important. Like if it's just something you noticed or an idea you got from our content, or just as a follower, a customer, the audience, just get in touch and communicate. That is pay as well. It doesn't have to be euros necessarily or dollars or whatever. When you get feedback, then you can grow as well. And then you can evolve as a business. And I think being valued for the work that you do is not necessarily personal. It's knowing that you are doing something that makes a difference, that it's not just you, right? Yeah. I think selling is not a bad word. Selling is necessary to do good things, but you don't necessarily have to put forward a lot of money. You can also help by sharing the message. Yeah. And I think that is something that I just want to keep repeating.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think there's a balance in all of it, right? There's also a balance in how we accumulate feedback and who it comes from and how it, impacts us. There's also ways in which we, some of it is how do you respond to your audience? Sometimes if you make the exact thing that your audience wants, it doesn't really work because maybe they want something that they experience a gap in. Yeah. That actually doesn't work as a business, for example, or that doesn't actually fill that gap because the gap's somewhere else. Like they're actually experiencing something different, but they think they need to fill it with this item, product, community. So there's always a bit of a gray zone that we need to wade through, right? Especially as business owners. And it's wonderfully complex and incredibly hard to be with.
I love that.
Business owners, right? Like it just is a forever unknown. It just is forever an evolution and a growing and an adjusting. And you're always going to be slightly doubting yourself, and you're always going to be slightly excited. And there's always just going to be a little low hum of what I'm going to just call like a low hum of anxiety, a like slight vibration, which just is part of being a business owner.
Oh, that
right?
is such a great, I want to put that on a t-shirt. It is so true.
It is true though, right?
Yeah, it is true. And it's not easy, but this buzzing vibe of energy kind of buzzes us forward. That slight knot in your stomach that on one day will turn into some ecstatic enjoyment of what you've accomplished, and another day the knot is growing and growing and you're doubting yourself the whole time. And it is really part of a business, and being able to quickly make changes and doing things differently, trying things out. Yeah, it can be really scary, but it also is amazing to be working on things that are more than just products.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that sort of ties it all together, I find, is that, I mean, for me anyways, in my work, my branding work and the ethical move, is there is a purpose at the end of it. I want to break consumerism, for example.
Yes. Yeah.
Lofty goal, I know. Not in my lifetime. That's fine. Maybe.
I'll help.
I'm going to try my best. I hope. And maybe the world will do it on its own. Like, who knows? It might collapse.
Even better.
I will take a long nap.
No, I didn't know you were going there. I'm like, even better. No.
I'm actually, that's the beauty of it. I think there's something a little narcissistic sometimes around how we perceive our goals and our visions. And I had to come to terms with this myself, that it isn't actually about me at all. And I kind of came to the point where I realized a lot of people, especially when they go through branding and they are like developing their big visions and they're, you know, the place that they want to have people follow them to, understanding that if somebody else does it first, is that going to suck for you, or is that a good thing? And if it sucks, then you have to revise what you're doing, because you might not be doing it for other people. If you're actually happy, if say you went ahead and broke consumerism tomorrow, I'd be celebrating. I'd be like, I don't know. I'd be like clapping loudly in Canada.
And move on to the next issue to solve.
And just finally, like I said, take a nap. Probably, I don't know, go have a burger at the pub. I don't know, just like do nothing. Even though, you know, maybe not consumption. Maybe just lie down. Anyway, but
that is
I had to catch
so
myself.
hard it must be so hard in your life as well to just constantly
absolutely. The thing is, we have a place in the sort of like global economy that we need to accept as business owners, as consumers or customers, clients. And we get to choose how we take responsibility for that. And that is actually, it's funny, I just glanced over at the page and realized that I never talked about the last part of the pledge.
Oh, we'll do that. And that could be
the wrap up, because it's beautiful, I think.
Do that.
My favorite part. It is, we take responsibility for our part in changing the marketplace. We recognize the need to break the cycle of consumerism, and we will continuously review our sales and marketing to ensure they benefit the common good. So the idea is, you're in this, whether you like it or not. You have power in this, whether you like it or not. And you better start harnessing it, and you better start owning it, and you better start taking responsibility for it. That's my call out. It's like, you're a small business. You are legally a citizen of your country, which makes you responsible for the patch of land that you own, whether it be online or on the ground. And so what are you doing with that is the most important piece. It's not, I'm just going to like sit back and, you know, let other people do the thing first, but you already have it in your hands. So you need to take care of it. Every single crisis can be led back to the cycle of consumerism, really. The cycle is unsustainable, inhumane, harmful. So what we need to do then is, okay, we know that the system isn't working. It's harmful to most. We know that we have power and we need to take and own it. And then full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning around the overwhelm of everything that sort of, you know, when you first start doing ethical marketing in quotation marks, all the things that you suddenly go like, oh my gosh, I need to update my privacy policy. I need to do this. I need to change the color contrast on my website. There's so many things are just on the techie side of things. And then there's all the additional work on like liberation work and how do I become an anti-racist? What are all the levels in which I can become a more eco-conscious business? And how do I not shame myself? And how do I not, lower my ability to even be a human or be a business? So many things to think about. And that's what we say with the second part, which is continuously reviewing our sales and marketing, continuously coming back to it, understanding it's a practice. It will last a lifetime. And then the easiest thing is just, all right, I'm going to have a date in my calendar once a month, once a quarter. And during that time for 2 to 3 hours, I'm just going to revise whatever piece is coming next. I'm going to review and plan and keep chugging along and hopefully in community with others like you who are also doing the work and who are also in the self-doubt and also in the, the complex gray world of online business or business in general. Yeah. And understanding it's just little mini steps. And sometimes you get a really big breakthrough. Also important to acknowledge that and celebrate it, right? If you're anything like me, you rush through it really quickly. So that to me is probably the most important part, that we are here for a lifetime. Consumption is in our blood more than almost anything else. And it's this constant having to push against it and having to acknowledge that, okay, I believed the message again. I went down the rabbit hole of yet another funnel, understanding that happens because we were born to do that. We were insidiously messaged to from when we were children in the grocery store, when we get toys with a certain amount of money spent by our parents. So we make our parents go back to the same grocery store to get that toy again. That's where it starts, or probably even before that, So understanding that and then really just keep working on it. We're all working on it.
And we have to take care of ourselves within all of that.
Well, so that, right?
It is basically comes down to take the time, choose from your heart and values, and do what you can. Yeah. And I think I have a very practical solution. I think we just all have to listen. This is going to be really good. When all of us just get off social media and use the time that we spend on social media for our ethical marketing work. And then when you did that hour, you make it your last hour on Friday, you end with a celebration for the work that you've done and for yourself.
Love that practice. I love that practice. I think
in my case, it will be gin and tonic in the summer or whiskey in the winter. Or just
very solid choice.
But it could be a cucumber or a salad or whatever you like.
I know. I feel like celebration, that's something that I really need to practice now. I have a practice, which I'm not going to get into, but the thing that I'm working on right now is wellness. And that means in all levels and all ways, mind, body, spirit. One of the things I've noticed is that I haven't really found a really good practice for celebration. I'm one of those people, like I said before, that just we launched the ethical move. Great. What's next? Instead of going, hey, wait, I worked on this for 6 years. Okay, well, we have Project X, Project Y, and
your celebration is the newsletter.
Taking a moment. Yeah. I personally enjoy the most having a conversation and reviewing and going, wow, and we did this and this and this and this, and having an actual review and really saying it out loud. I'm a verbal processor. That works really well for me. I know other people who write them down or who burn a candle. I don't know, whatever the thing is. But having a real ritual. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. So many insights and inspiration. It was a wonderful conversation.
Likewise.
I learned so much, and I'm sure whomever is listening feels the same way. And everybody, feedback, push the button on the right-hand side of the show notes, and you can leave your message there to Alice or to me or to both of us. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it.
Likewise. So good. Such a good conversation. So juicy.
Juicy. Yes. A Smaller Life is Jawohl's completely free way for makers and sellers to learn how to be part of a healthier take on clothes and fashion. Jawohl offers an online community where they can connect and inspire each other, monthly topics with challenges for makers, and coaching and support for sellers. We will move the needle. For For more information, go to ja-wol.com. Jawohl!